Listen, Yorgos is probably one of the most interesting directors out there, even if I don't love all of his movies. Like, he's always doing that thing with his actors where he wants them to sound like they're in a third grade play.
I think we are a match.
Yes, I think so too.
I personally love Dogtooth, and I highly recommend it as his best film. It's my personal favorite. The Lobster would then be my second favorite. Alps would be my third favorite. Sacred Deer is easily my least favorite. And the favorite is somewhere in the middle for me, even though it keeps pushing that six-act trend that I don't really like. Let me explain. So this movie was written way back in 1998, where according to the producer, it didn't get any financing because of its LGBT content and there not being a male lead. And then 2018 happened. And what I think is interesting about this movie is how it's based off of a true story and how the screenwriters actually gathered the three women's letters to see how they talk to each other. And considering that this is the first script Yorgos didn't pen with his writing partner, I can see why people consider this more accessible, but it still has that ending that I know is going to irk a lot of people. Pretty much, Queen Anne has these two sidekicks that are trying to win her approval to become the favorite. And besides adding an unnecessary "you" in the title, these two unnecessarily complicate things by spiting each other. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Phantom Thread from last year. It's one of my personal favorites. Some of you I'm sure have. If you haven't, definitely go check out that movie, and especially go check out The Duke of Burgundy, because if you love The Favorite, you are going to adore both of those movies. In this one, their whole dynamic I thought was fantastic, especially when you realize by the end of the movie that everything you thought you knew was completely wrong. Like, you start off thinking that Sarah is this controlling monster who's always rude to the queen and is using her, when in reality, the queen doesn't do much without her. Abigail automatically comes off as this cute and lovable servant because she's Emma Stone, when in reality she may be a stone cold killer. And Olivia Colman just straight up steals his performance. Even though I don't know why they're still pushing her for lead and not supporting, because we all know Tony's got it in the bag. It isn't until Abigail finds these two canoodling that she realizes what she needs to do to gain power. Because you see, Abigail's father lost her in a bet, and she pretty much became a sex slave for a Humpty Dumpty looking dude as her dad burned himself to death in his own home. So she's pretty much willing to do anything to get out of being a servant. She's biting the one dude who wants to marry her, and once he actually does, she's just acting like an 18th century thot. She straight up tells the queen that if she knocks out in her mud bath, just imagine it as hot chocolate so that way you can choke to death happy. She massages the queen's thighs until she gets up to the royal bean, and then poisons Sarah so that she can get lost in the woods, making her the only one left in this mansion. Now, like I said, Sarah may come off as mean, but she's like the Dick Cheney of this place. If it wasn't for her, the queen would have no idea what to do politically. She's aware Anne is lactose intolerant before doctors even know what that is. And while she may be referring to the queen as a Wisconsin mascot, that's because Sarah is the only one who's honest to her. So for Abigail to twist things and convince the queen to banish the person who loves her the most gives you one of the most depressing endings you can think of. See, the queen had lost 17 children, and her way of coping with their loss was to get a new rabbit every time, so she has a total of 17 rabbits right there in her room. And it isn't until she's completely exiled her right-hand woman that she's stuck having to deal with all the responsibilities Sarah was doing, and realizes that Abigail wasn't really going to be this cute girl who she thought she was, and instead the power gets to her head as she tries stepping on one of her rabbits, expecting coins to come out or something. So after fighting to be the favorite, all three of these are just depressed. Abigail, who said that her life was a continual maze of submission, finds herself as a sex servant just to another master again. She's pretty much another pet rabbit after the queen's loss of Sarah. Sarah, who was all for queen and country, is living in the countryside all alone with her husband, who spends more time with his duck. And Anne, whose rabbits represented her misery, is stuck with nobody, getting sicker every day because no one tells her to stop eating cake like that kid from Matilda, as that exact symbol for misery gets overlaid on top of these two and continues to multiply on them until we cut to the credits. But have y'all seen Weisz? Thank you guys for checking out this video. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I definitely like this movie a lot more than Suspiria. Some people were comparing the two in terms of the story that goes on between the power dynamics, and this one is leagues above Suspiria, in my opinion. The only thing with it is that there are moments, and you know, Yorgos does this a lot, where it's like you get the point of a scene 2 minutes, 3 minutes in, and he's like, nah, I'm gonna put this to 8 minutes. So you just sit there going, all right, we'll just sit here with this fish scope lens right here. I do really like what he does with his movies, because this man is he loves natural lighting so much, and obviously with this taking place, way back when, with not that much electricity, they had to like assemble everything around fire codes, because they were lighting the scenes in this movie, all the night scenes, with candles. So they had bought like a bunch of candles just to make sure that everything was lit naturally the way he wanted to. I think that's kind of crazy. I'm surprised the whole place didn't get set on fire, especially considering the place that they shot is like the super expensive, iconic mansion thing. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in this comment section. Let me know who your favorite was in this movie, who you think the standout was, what your favorite movies of the year are now that we're getting towards the end of it, your interpretation of the ending, any of that stuff down below in the comment section. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll send you a hot chocolate.